Okay, so we have Michael Yo is going to be in a conversation with our very own Mariella, and when this amazing comedian was a kid, he rarely saw mixed race people or interracial couples on TV. Now that things have changed, he's pretty pleased and has a few things to say about it. Now, in this talk, he will discuss his mixed race Asian representation and how his own mixed identity has influenced his comedy. And I'll pass. This is going to be moderated by our very own, boss human being, Mariella. Please take it away. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Hunter. Thank you, Power to Fly, for facilitating this amazing conversation. Thank you, Michael Yo, for showing up today. I know that I'm not alone in saying that we are looking forward to hearing from you and just learning together on, how we can just be our authentic selves in this ever-changing world. And I'm sure Hunter would have loved to interview you, but I get to, so I
yeah.
All right, so Hunter gave a beautiful introduction, but I just want to know, what is a typical day in the life like for Michael Yo? You are self-described Blasian and self-described, artist, comedian, actor, all the things that all the titles you can put to yourself. But of course, we're specifically focusing on, the intersectionality of multicultural families and things like that. So what is a typical day in the life like for you? And feel free to go in as deep as you'd like to start, but I just want to help set the stage.
Well, I'll give you a typical day. I'll wake up at like 6, go to the gym. My kids wake up at 8. I have a daughter that's 2 and a son that's 5. I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the world, my wife, Claire. And then it's really just family time all day. Luckily, I'm a stand-up comedian, so we perform at night. So I hang with the family all day, take them to school, take them to the park, hang out with my wife. And then about 7 o'clock, that's when daddy goes to work. I go to the comedy club and then practice at the Comedy Cellar in Las Vegas pretty much every night. And then sometimes like this weekend, I'll go on tour. So that's pretty much my life every single day. Why I let people know I'm Blasian, Black and Asian, and why it's so important for the conversation is because when I was growing up, they would make you fill out, when you would go enter school, they would make you fill out like sex and things like this. And then they had the races. And I remember when I went to school on one of my first days, I circled Black and Asian. And the teacher looked at me and said, "You can't be that." And I go, "Well, what are you talking about?" She goes, "Look, you have to choose one." She was frustrated. "You got to choose one." I go, "But I'm both. Like my dad's Black, my mom's Asian." And she says, "No, you have to choose one." And I never forgot that day because I felt that at that time in America, that's what I was looked at like. It's like, oh, you can't be both. And I had to choose one. So I just chose Black, and I regret that I didn't stay. I was only like 9 or 10, but I wish I could go back and say, no, that's just the way it is. And I went home and told my dad, and he goes, "Look, you're Black and Asian. Don't ever forget that. We love you the same. There's no difference." And, he said, look, my dad has a PhD in nuclear physics. He's a pretty smart man. And he goes, the world will change. And when people make fun of you now, that will benefit you later. And he was right 40 something years ago. And, we're here today. So that's why I think it's so important for people to understand that if you're mixed race, before you had to choose, now you should celebrate everything. My kids are Black, white, and Asian. I call them little panda bears. They're little pandas, but I want them to enjoy every part of their life, the Black side, the Asian side, the white side. I want them to celebrate everything because I know growing up, you only got to celebrate one.
So thank you for being so transparent there, because clearly you're not alone. I grew up alongside of several peers and friends and family members who I saw them frustrated having to choose because the system was asking them to choose.
Yes.
Fortunately you had someone like your dad tell you like, look, the world's going to change, just buckle in tight so you can be ready for that ride. But, if folks are listening right now, and they either find themselves in that situation or they have children that find themselves in that situation, considering all the things, that are happening in our current events, now we can have anything at the touch, at the touch of a button. We are being faced with a lot of complexities that are, on one side asking us to be more non-binary, right? To be more expressive and channel all the things that make us who we are. But then we still have these archaic, formulas or questions that sometimes, in my opinion, is downright ignorant in a lot of cases.
Yes.
But we're living, in the 21st century. What advice would you give to someone who currently finds themselves in that situation that you found yourself in when you were a kid?
Well, I went to a pretty much all white school, and I don't blame the kids. We were all young and they didn't know how to explain a person that looked like me. So they said a lot of ignorant things, and I remember something was very mean they said to me at school. I told my dad what they said, and my dad says, "Are you that?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Stop letting people define you with their words." And that's another moment that changed my life. No matter what somebody wants to call me, no matter what somebody calls, it's not going to affect me. My dad went through segregation, still got a PhD. My dad had to work harder than pretty much everybody else to get a PhD because of the circumstances back then. My dad marched to eat in restaurants, but what's amazing and why I find him an amazing man, he's never talked bad about other races, no matter what color. He goes, "This was just my journey, and I wasn't going to let anybody stop me." Like you could be racist, and here's the reason why Black people, like my dad, they wanted to be educated because that's the only way you could be even. Because nobody could take your grades. They could take every right you had. They could make you sit in the back of the bus. They could make you not want to go eat somewhere. But what they could never take away from you is the right answer on a test. So that's why so many older Black people really embraced education, because that was the only way they could be even. And that's what's so amazing about my dad. He said, "Man, I had my mind. And as long as I had my mind, I knew I could be even or even better than anybody." And that's what he taught me. So my thing is, don't let other people's words define you. And just remember, you are yourself and nobody can stop you if you're really on a mission.
I love that. So inspirational. And I would like to know what actually got you into this career path. We talked a little bit in the green room. I'm originally from Los Angeles. We both no longer live in Los Angeles right now.
Yes. Praise the Lord.
I mean, I was born there. Shout out to LA,
Yes.
but for some reason there's this thing, it's heavy, right? And especially for, marginalized folks like us who have to, continue to knock down walls. And it's like, all right, I'm just going to move where there are less walls or no walls, and try to, allow for my voice to be heard there. So I'm just interested in hearing a little bit more about your career, what got you started in this industry. And then, leading up to now, your exit from LA, and also, all of the beautiful things that are coming out of that.
Yes.
As you're saying, you're actually having to turn things down now because, of all the work that is coming your way. So what has that trajectory been like for you?
Well, I was very lucky, and I will use the word luck because I was a big radio DJ in Miami. At the time, Entertainment, Ted Harbor was the president. He loved great talent, no matter if they knew how to be on TV or not. So I have the worst story. I got offered a television job for and I never was on TV, but I feel like I earned it through radio because, he heard my radio show. He liked it. So I moved to LA, and I thought that's how TV worked. That's how naive I was. I was like, oh, they just call random people and you get a TV job, So I'm at and I remember about a month in, there was a line outside the door, right? Beautiful people, guys and women, beautiful people lined outside the door. I go, "What's that?" They go, "Oh, that's the line of people that's just trying to get on tape to get a job." And I'm like, "Oh, I am lucky," because that didn't happen to me. So I believe my career took off because I never changed. And I always was open to say yes, because I believe God puts opportunity in front of you. And whether you're ready or not, you got to fake it till you make it. And I never did TV, but I acted like I did TV, and it worked out. And then I remember Chelsea Handler at the time. She was coming out with her TV show on E, and she goes on my radio show for Miami, and we connect, and she sells out shows because I had a big show in Miami. Then she goes, if I ever get a TV show, I want you to be on it, because I was kind to her. And she came through. She put me on her TV show. And then, believe it or not, the Kardashians, it was the same thing. The Kardashians got signed at E, and I was the dude on radio and on TV. So I would put them on my radio show, and I was kind of like, they would test to see how they would interview. I was like that tester interview. And then Kris Jenner looked at me and goes, if we ever get a TV show, if this works out, we're going to put you on the show. And then we did Courtney and Khloe Take Miami. Khloe did a radio show, and I was her boss in it. So it's always about, every opportunity I've gotten was being good to someone, or just being a person of my word, and then they were a person of their word. And I never said no to any opportunity. Stand up, I was challenged to do it. I was like, I can do that. I went up there, I got off stage, I called my mom and said, this is what I was born to do, stand-up comedy. But fear is what you make it. And I just feel like I love trying new things, but I also love to get out of things fast. Like I felt like I worked for Yahoo, and Marissa, I forgot her last name, but she was the CEO. And she goes, yo, no matter what you do, fail fast. If you fail fast, you know what you're good at and what you're not good at. I will not stick into something I'm not good at, if I don't see potential in it. So that's how I've always just, I just got an acting gig with Bonnie Hunt producing it. I'm going to be on an Apple show that drops in July, because I've been just saying yes. The power of yes is amazing, but also you need to know your worth. And a lot of people, we get caught up in this Hollywood scene, and you lose your worth because you just want to get on. And I went through that. But once you find your voice, just like in stand-up, once you find your worth, then it's kind of funny how things start to shift. And people say, oh, he's not going to take anything, we better come correct. And it's this confidence you get in the move. I had a big bout with COVID in March 2020. I was one of the first people in the hospital with it, almost died from it. That was life-changing. I pulled out and I became a better person. I really found my voice, and I knew life, it really hit me, life is short, and I need to stand up for everything, not just everything, and really know your worth. And I think the move to Vegas out of LA, we talked about it. There's a heaviness in LA, and you can't explain it. I tell everybody, LA is like working at McDonald's, and everybody works at McDonald's, and everybody's talking about Big Macs, and everybody's trying to be the manager. It's just everybody's talking about the same thing all the time. What audition you get? What audition? Oh, I got that audition. Did you get it? Did I get it? I don't know. So you're always talking about that, and this is heaviness. But when I moved to Vegas, nobody cares. Not one person. They're like, they know who you are, but they don't care. They're just like, oh, how's your family? Not their first question is, how's your family? Not, oh, so what do you work on? What do you do? So it's just this heaviness. And one thing I love about stand-up is, in a world of no's in Hollywood, stand-up was the only place where I knew every night I could get yeses. And it gave me more confidence to move on. And I feel for people that just depend on other people for the yes, because that can be a very draining and depressing time if you're not a strong person and can't handle that. You know what I mean? And I really feel for those people that, like, straight up actors that depend on getting every single job. It's like that I couldn't even imagine, because you're hearing no's 90%, 99% of the time. And at least I had an outlet of stand-up, of going up and getting a yes.
Oh my goodness, you are dropping a lot of gems. I'm like, which one do I want to pick up right now? As I'm thinking, I just want to call out for our live listeners. Please drop any questions in the comments, in the chat box. I would love to raise them to Michael. We want to hear from you all. One gem that I want to pick up is this, the beautiful way you're describing on how you were able to find your voice. And it just reminds me of, I'm going to call brother James Baldwin into the space right now, who talks about the moral responsibility of the artist, right? Mm-hmm. Which I feel is exactly what you're hitting on. It's like, don't depend on anyone else to tell you you're worthy. And also sometimes we are called to come out on stage or just in front of people and speak our truths, even if that means the person isn't going to like it, right? So
100%.
I love that you're seeing no as an opportunity instead of, you know, banking on the yes, and if not, then that's the end of life here. But we find ourselves currently, you know, with social media, with the media in general, you know, with the workplace scene, where, you know, people are asking for a space at the table, they're asking to be heard, they don't want to be the only ones, you know, it's very complex. So it's easier said than done, right? Don't let the
Yes,
no
100%.
down.
Yes.
So someone who is receiving lots of no's today, you know, this is beautiful advice that you're sharing. And I mean, you have, you know, the work of the artist who uses their body. So you're an actor and a comedian, you know, you have to be vulnerable to a certain extent. So my next question is, you know, how can someone who is experimenting with that vulnerability to not be knocked down by the no's, what is some self-love or self-care practice that they can, you know, adopt into their lives so that they can have this positive outlook like you clearly have in your life?
But I also, you know, you get a lot of no's, but I think also you need to sit in them for a second, because you need to know how it feels. You know what I mean? I think no's make you stronger. And I am a person that sits in every no for a second, but I move on very quickly. But I like the feeling of no's because it makes the yeses so much better. Because if you never had a no, you wouldn't enjoy the yeses as much. That's why when you get that yes, it's so exciting because you felt every no and how it affected you. And I feel that my outlook on that is, I think what really helps me the most, you know, self-love, is me getting on stage. And I know a lot of people, they don't have that outlet. But for me to do something I love gets my mind off that no. Because one thing I love about the stage is that it doesn't care who you are. If you are funny, you are funny. It doesn't matter. If you're a great performer, you're a great performer. I can go on before Chris Rock. I can go on after Chris Rock. I can go on before Bill Burr, Dave. It doesn't. I went after, in New York, I went after Jerry Seinfeld 3 times. And the stage was like, Jerry Seinfeld's a legend. Let's see what you got. And if you're good, you're good. It went great. So that's what I love about the stage. It's the only place in the world, to me, that there's no prejudice. And it's just that stage doesn't care who you are. Now, it does show prejudice how you get on that stage. You know, like all the politics to get on that stage is one thing. But once you're up there, standing on that stage, it doesn't matter who's before you or after you. It's all about you. And it's just you alone. And that's the best feeling in the world, where for me, the self-love was doing so. I guess the advice I would give other people is find something you absolutely love doing, whether it's hanging out with your family like I do, hanging out with your kids, or maybe you love art. Do that after a no, because you can sit in the no, but also know you're creating something beautiful. You know, so that's what I do. My best sets have been after no's, because it's kind of like this fire. It's like, oh, you gave me a no. You just haven't caught up to what these real people think right here. Because these real people are the people that are watching TV shows. These real people are the people that are buying things. So if they're liking me, it's just a matter of time.
I love that. I find that in my experience, I wonder if this is true for you as well. I love that you're also acknowledging the no, sitting in the no, right? Because we need to work with that shadow side. We can't just sweep it all under the rug and then let it come out 20 years later and we're a hot mess, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the no happened, breathe, let me do what I need to do to leave this place. And that's what's happening. But as far as the no opening up opportunities, right? Like I remember being in LA and being like, I remember actually it was a very racist situation now that I think of it, to be very clear. You know, I had auditioned for a commercial and, you know, everyone was telling me I did a great job, casting director, you know, everyone, and I didn't get the role. So I followed up. Hey, I'm confused. I got all this great feedback. And they told me that they had already cast the son and the husband in this commercial and that I don't look like I could be the mother. So they went with someone else. And I go, so you were trying to do like a cookie cutter family situation for people to understand what family looks like. And I just disagreed with that completely. Like, look at your family. Your family is not what they were trying to sell in this instance. Like, you know, why not book someone like me, even though I am the way that I am? And you know, you've previously booked the kid and the father. So that kind of hit me morally and ethically in a way that helped me start to write more, actually. And it helped me to start to reopen my abilities as a writer versus, because I felt like I had more control in that situation. So I would love to hear if you were able to find, different outlets because you got, some no's in your life.
Well,
and so that people can hear this and maybe realize that, it's a crossroads at the end of the day. The no is a crossroads.
Well, it's interesting you had that situation happen to you, and because it's happened to everybody in the industry. It really has. But I also am a person that respects that, because look, they know what they're looking for. It doesn't mean you're bad. It means you're not what they're looking. And that's what Hollywood is. Honestly, that's what it is. It's like, whether we don't like your hair, we're going with this. They can pick anything they want. Like, I went in for one of the biggest Black producers in the world, and he said, yo, I love you. You kicked ass, but you're just not Black enough for the role, And once I saw the movie, I was like, oh, he right. I wasn't Black enough for that role. Now, and when he meant Black enough, he didn't mean I'm not Black. He didn't mean I'm not proud of being Black. He didn't mean that. He goes, the look of you is not Black enough for this role. And when I saw one thing, and when you say that, initially I got really angry, because I go, oh, you mean I don't suffer like other Black? And I took it personally, rather than, it's very like, just look. It's look. He didn't mean you weren't Black. He didn't mean you didn't struggle. He didn't mean you didn't go through racism. He just means you don't have to look what I need, And when I saw everything play out in the movie, I go, oh my God, I would have been horrible in that role. People would have been like, why'd you cast him? And I even would have been like, why'd you cast me? Because it didn't fit. It didn't fit who I was. It didn't fit what I represent. And he knew that. But I was just too blind to that fact at the time, because I just heard, you're not Black enough. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, we got problems. But once I saw everything play out, I understood. But on the writing side, man, I remember Marlon Wayans. He told one of my good friends. One of my friends was so proud he got his first movie. And the guy is very creative. They got this first movie. And he met up with Marlon, and Marlon looks at him and he goes, so you're in a movie? And the guy goes, yeah. He goes, oh, so like you're a producer? The guy was like, no. He goes, oh, so you wrote it? He goes, no. So you executive producer or something? He goes, no. Go, oh, okay. So you just in somebody else's thing, And then my friend said it hit him like, oh, of course I'm enjoying this opportunity, but wouldn't it have been great if it was my own project that I'm in, and I'm hiring everybody, and everybody is trying to make my story come alive? So that's one part that nobody can stop you from creating. They can not pick it up, but I believe when you're creating, it puts you're seeing people that you would have never met because you're creating a project. I'll tell you a true story. I sold a sitcom about my life 5 years ago. And I wasn't at that point where I haven't found my voice yet that I could write it. So they handed it off to another writer that tried to write my story, and it wasn't my story at all. So it didn't get picked up. This time around, after my new comedy special came out, I've been having meetings every single day where people want me to tell my story now because of the comedy special. So you see the growth, and I'm meeting with people I never thought I would meet with. I just had a meeting yesterday with Larry Wilmore. I mean, this is one of my idols. So it's kind of like when you do what you love. On my last comedy special that just came out, I bet on myself. I funded it. I put it out. I didn't know what was going to happen. And now it's paying so much dividends for betting on yourself, doing your own thing. Because I was like, I'm not going to let people I don't know tell me I'm not funny. I'd rather bring it to the people myself and see what they have to say. And the response has been overwhelming, and it's opened so many doors. So my whole thing is, look, we're in the industry. We got to get those no's. We got to get those notes from people. But that shouldn't stop you from creating your own thing and betting on yourself when you feel it's right or you feel the material is good enough. And that's what I don't want people to lose sight of, because you get so used to, oh, let me go audition for this. Let me go audition for that. And then you just become a person that auditions and not creates. So always be creative, always make stuff, always do stuff, but look, we all in the same game. Play the game, but also try to create your own game.
Yes, try to create your own game. I love
Yes.
speaking about the importance of emotional intelligence. And in my opinion, it has everything to do with that creative awareness, right? So that you can have self-awareness and then not let these other things phase you so much. You know, of course, we're social beings and we have,
Yep.
you know, we have to take our turns and readjust in every moment. But when we are grounded, you know, through all of the, like, we can say the buffoonery and the foolishness and the things that we see in the industry, whether, you know, a lot of folks listening might be in the tech industry or, you know, entrepreneurships, you know, a lot of folks are starting their own businesses because they've been told no a lot of times, which I think is beautiful because we're seeing a new, you know, wave of creative entrepreneurs show products that we never thought of and, you know, bring more empathy and, you know, equity and things like that into the process. So I love what you're saying right now. And actually, you did share a little bit about your comedy special.
Yes.
That I was able to check out. It's on YouTube, right? I'd love to hear a little bit more about, you know, what was the final, you know, leap of faith that you took to get it out there, and what are you excited to share on that channel?
Well, the new comedy special is called I Never Thought, and I went to the hospital March 17, 2020, and I shot this one in February of 2022, and I said, I'm gonna bet on myself because Joe Coy is my mentor in comedy. He's a huge comedian. And he said, you need to bet on yourself because you shouldn't wait for other people to make stuff happen for you. He goes, trust me, when you bet on yourself and you put out a great product, people are going to be lined up to want to do the next one. And that's what's happening is I wanted to come out March 17th, 2022, 2 years after I went to the hospital, almost died of COVID, because that's a very special date to me. Now, there are two elements working. No matter, even if I wanted somebody to pick it up, we never even offered it because it wouldn't have got picked up and put out by the time I wanted. So that was another reason I bet on myself. And I wanted to own it. I talked to Gina Yashier and she was like, she owned her comedy specials. Then Netflix bought all her comedy specials at once, you know? And it was kind of like, oh, I'm in the business of owning stuff now. And if I'm gonna create it, I'm gonna own it. And I gotta say, man, I was nervous. I was scared. You put a lot of money up front and it's already paid dividends. Look, I put my special on a YouTube channel. My YouTube channel had 3,000 people on it, right? That's it. A month and a half later, it has over 63,000 people, subscribers now. My special is close to 175,000 views. And what I love about it, it's all organic and real. There's no fake in this. There's no big advertisers. This is just little me putting it out and praying that it would work. And man, it has. And everybody that watches it loves it. So it's a thing where betting on yourself, it's a different feeling. You make every move. I'm in control of everything on this project. So betting on yourself is something that's unbelievable. And financially, when you get to that place where you can do that, I suggest it to everybody because reward is so much bigger. I had a special before that another company put out. I just shot it and didn't hear anything. Like I wasn't in any meetings or anything. This one, I was in everything. And it just feels good that, you know, you own something and people love it. So I think that's the biggest thing.
You're dropping a lot of knowledge today. I'm going to definitely rewatch this and send it out to my family, friends,
Yes,
and
please.
peers. And I hope that folks who are listening also have been able to take some gems from this conversation. Michael Yo, it's been such a pleasure. I know you're a busy man with a beautiful family to tend to. So go ahead and go back out into the world in Vegas. I'm definitely going to check out your comedy special on YouTube. Can you say the name of it one more time for folks who don't know?
Yes, it's on YouTube. It's called I Never Thought, and just look for it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michael Yo. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.